He was riding in a Honda Prelude. He was in the back seat with the child protection locks set. He could not get out. He was watching the hair-sparse heads of Gino and Tony Economico bob to and fro like the heads of those sports memorabilia bullshit bobblehead things they sold on the Home Shopping Network. He was scared. He was
Skippy Bonifamero. We should have known that name was bullshit from the start.
Gino sighed as he turned off the Grand Central Parkway and onto a darkened service road. This was it. Skippy, the coffee boy from the Titans Social Club on 76th Avenue in Bensonhurst. This would be the end of Skippy.
Hey, the old man really liked you. You had to go and let him down, you fucking comic.
Tony, the friendlier one, said, leaning over the half-light of the Honda's back seat, his bald pate reflecting the streetlights as they passed warehouse after warehouse.
Hey, you did the best Stan Mahoney impressions we've ever saw. Hey, do kneecap Andy for us.
Man, I don't feel like it,
Skippy said, waiting for the moment that usually came in situations such as this, where his character manifestations had placed him, where he could take control. Skippy? Sure he was Skippy. As much as he was the others he had become throughout his life. He had chosen to become Skippy the day he arrived in New York when some punk had tried to hustle him outside the Port Authority. Skippy just sort of arose that day. He could pass as an Italian-American. He could conjure up the mannerisms, the street smarts, the sense of irony, the admiration for Sinatra, and soon they were sympathetico. The punk was Frankie Weasel. The fucking Weasel had tried to get him with the old bait and switch. He offered a fine leather wallet, waved it under his nose, then, after the money was tendered, the Weasel planned to hand him a small box with the same brand name on the outside, but a plastic piece of crap on the inside. Skippy didn't go for it. He gave the Weasel the same crap right back. The Weasel liked him, took him back to Bensonhurst, and set him up with the Titans. It was that easy. Skippy needed a past. He gave the Weasel one. Skippy had been through some shit in Detroit and was in New York to find an ex-girlfriend who took off with his mother's jewelry. It was simple. New Yorkers were so gullible. They were so proud, so brazenly proud they'd fall for anything. They considered themselves so smart, so worldly, that all you had to do was hook 'em once with the right ballsy story of betrayal and retribution, and they'd believe you. They were too vain to think they might be making a mistake in swallowing your line.
You fucked up, Skippy,
Gino said, pulling into a stark concrete cinder block building that housed a relative's auto body shop. Tony stepped out of the car and opened Skippy's door.
If that's your real name.
What the fuck is your real name anyway?
Gino said as he hiked his pants and straightened his tie in the side view mirror. He was confident that the wormy little fuck wasn't going anywhere. They hadn't bothered to tie him up or bind him or gag him. It wasn't necessary. Skippy here was docile as a lamb, resigned to the fate that he had fucked up, and was willing to accept his punishment. And either way, they were well armed and ready for any stupid thing he might do.
I really don't think I have one, he said, and he meant it. The only thing I'm sure about is that I'm part of an entity.
God? Tony asked, lighting a cigarette, placing one hand upon the hood of the Honda.
No, I'm part of a larger entity for sure, but it's a sort of a sub-entity. One of many here on Earth. We within this entity share a common thrust, a group gestalt, so to speak. Oh, listen to him. He sounds like some psychologist on TV.
Gino said, unlocking the trunk where he took out a fully loaded shotgun, some baling wire, and a hacksaw. Skippy didn't flinch.
No. I read about this stuff. It's New Age,
Tony said with avid interest.
You can call it anything you like.
Skippy smiled for the first time. He could feel the moment arising.
I'm part of the Stan entity.
Stan? Tony ventured.
Stan Mahoney. You know, you like my impression. He's our leader, so to speak.
Leader? Tony thought to himself.
Yes, the Stan entity has many parts. He and I are only two small segments. There are and have been others.
Well, you look like Mahoney, but you're different.
Precisely. And he looks like me, but different. We in this entity can at times act and think the same, but come from different backgrounds, areas, and even sexes. I have met female segments in this Stan grouping that were part and parcel of Stan Mahoney.
Will you two cut out the bullshit entities segments?
Gino piped in, shotgun in hand. He placed the gun against the rear quarter panel of the Honda. He was pensively waiting for this bullshit to play itself out.
Gino, you're from the Stallone entity. He's the most visible within your grouping, except you have less hair and are a bit taller, but you share so much in common,
Skippy said, turning to Gino. He was not bullshitting. He had met and interfaced with many from the Stallone entity before.
Haven't you felt the affinity?
I saw Rambo 7 times.
Gino proudly announced.
You know, Tony came to a realization, I had a teacher in high school, just like Billy Joel.
See what I'm talking about?
Skippy laughed in delight.
And you, Tony, you could be from the Mike Connors entity.
Tony looked on perplexed.
Mannix.
Skippy cackled with a mischievous smile. This was it. It was happening. Sometimes it comes quickly. Sometimes it takes forever.
You know, I see the resemblance.
Gino laughed. He was being reeled in and didn't even know it.
Is every entity linked to famous people?
Tony was eager for any facts Skippy was willing to provide.
Well, it just happens to work out that way, because every famous person falls within an entity. I only use their fame as an aspect of the entity, but the non-famous people in the entity are just as valid as the famous ones. In the Stan Mahoney entity, there are many besides me that are almost famous or going to be famous. There's Michael Keaton, for example. He's in our entity.
Well, and Dick Reynolds, that kid on Bonkers,
Tony added.
Yeah, that fucking game show host, Tom Donnelly.
Gino placed his finger to his lip.
He was always riffing off Mahoney lines like Skippy here did down at the club.
Gino suddenly became sullen. The club, Skippy, the orders, the job.
Oh, Gino, do we have to?
Tony pleaded. Gino vacillated.
Yes.
So we fucked the old man's mistress. Who hasn't?
Who got caught?
Skippy. The duo turned to look at Skippy, but he was gone. Then they heard a click like a door being opened, but it wasn't a door. They turned to look over their shoulders. There stood Skippy with the shotgun, fully loaded. Double barrels of bullshit, just waiting to blast the Economico brothers to that big San Gennaro festival in the sky.
Skippy, can we talk?
Gino offered.
You can call me Jason.
Skippy offered one of his other names. The first name he was given in the ongoing manifestation that was the Stan Mahoney entity.
Oh, listen, Jason
Was all Tony could get out as Jason. Skippy, or whoever the fuck he was. Let go with both barrels.